So welcome back to another episode of the Backholder Pod. So today we have devastating news for foreigners that are interested in buying Singapore residential property. So in this case, in the recent announcement just this morning, it's actually alluded that Singapore is going to increase the ABSD, which is additional buyer stamp duty, for specifically foreigners that are interested in scooping up some of these residential properties in Singapore. So maybe Eric, you can just walk us through on what are the new changes and what we should look out for, or how is it going to affect the property market in general?
Okay, so later I'll paste the table when I'm doing the editing. So this recent update, right, shows that the changes are mostly for foreigners. So their ABSD is going up from 30% all the way to 60%. Yeah, so it's like basically doubled lah. For Singapore citizens, just the second residential and the third one go up slightly. The second is go up from 17 to 20%. The third property is 25% to 30%. So a slight increase there lah. I think not very significant. Permanent residents, first one no change. Second one also up slightly from 25 to 30. Third one up 30 to 35. So a slight increase there. I think the major thrust, right, for this new measure is basically to clamp down on foreign buying. Yeah, so I think like the first impression I get is that probably the first quarter data will show that there's a big bump up in the buying from foreigners for the first quarter.
So in terms of buying, right, do you have any previous statistics in terms of how much the foreigners are buying? I think you were sharing in the group, right?
Yeah. I think the article, I will put the link. I think the last news article was from half a year ago. So the minister was saying that it's account for a very small percentage, the foreigner buying it's like 3%. But just thinking about it, 3%, if it's still 3% now, right, even 5%, which is pre-COVID levels, right, I don't think the government will actually enact this ABSD. Right, because it's like double. I think there was this news article that says that it's very draconian measures, which probably means that we seldom see our government take such a drastic measure, right? It's like literally COE double overnight. Like, so if it's so draconian, it does mean that they see a problem, and I would guess, I'm not very sure, I would guess that the foreigner buying, right, accelerated a lot in the first quarter. So I don't know what use.
Right. I also see a very big problem. The problem is not smashing the like button. So in case you guys forgot about it, just gently hit on it. I'll pass the time over to Bunty.
Yeah, I'm looking at the 30 to 60%, right? This is like, to put it in context, let's say a foreigner want to buy a 2 million houses or private condo. That means he has to pay what? 1.2 millions in ABSD.
Extra, yeah.
Extra.
So 3.2, yeah.
So I think this is almost like straight away asking people like don't buy, right? It's almost like, I mean, it's 60% is like super huge amount. I don't know. I don't know whether there are anyone buying after this, with 60% ABSD, and this is like straight away from your pocket into the government pockets. And it's and no point to buy also, because after you buy the property, you thought of, okay, maybe after some time the property price will increase, then you can sell for profit, right? But imagine that the person that is going to buy from you, let's say if the person is a foreigner, then he has to pay an additional 60% again, right? So this is really a big increase now.
I think also it came just in time when a few days ago there was this article that was released that an Indonesian family, they bought 3 properties that are worth $200 million. Yeah, so I think in terms of the multitude of cooling measures that are introduced right now, it's evident that the government is listening. They're listening to people saying that, oh, properties are getting a little bit too hot, rental prices are getting a little bit too shaky. That's why they are slowly, I mean, our government hasn't been always the 0 to 100 type of government where from today they don't do anything, tomorrow they flip the switch. So right now it just feels like they're introducing measures in tranches, very much like how they handled the pandemic, and they're just trying to tinker around with demand, supply, and play around with prices as well. So yeah, I think in general, foreigners, if I'm in the perspective of a foreigner, I would highly be discouraged. But still, for people that are extremely rich, maybe they just want to park their money. So they don't really care if they're maybe they're donating to the contribution of the Singapore society. Who knows? They love Singapore a lot. But yeah, anyhow, I think, do you think it's still going to be a very big impact though, in terms of the property market? Do you think it's going to affect the prices or rental, etc.? Eric?
I think, yeah, there's another table that you sent earlier on, right? That includes not just foreigners, but entities and trustees. I'm guessing those include those like house office or something, home office, those like family one. So even the Indonesian family that bought the landed, I think they bought it under entities or trustees, something like that. Because I thought that landed is only supposed to sell to citizen. So that could be a kind of a loophole where they buy through a entity or trustee, then can sort of bypass. I'm not very sure of this ruling here, but I think if you look at the jump, right, the rate increase is 35% for both these things to 65%, which is slightly less than the doubling, but it's still 65% is a crazy lot. If you think about it, the housing price, how long does it take to double? Essentially, I think you take at least 10 years if it's super duper fast. But normally for housing, I think about 20 years will be just about right. You can probably see a doubling conservatively. So if you're putting in all this tax, right, it does mean that it will restrict those that are mass affluent, like from the foreigner country. But if let's say those are like super duper rich, like billionaires, they don't care about this. They just want to buy a property in a stable country, and yeah, their purpose is like not to make money because they have lots of it. They don't really care. They just want to stake a place in a stable country where there's a rule of law, something like that. Yeah. So that's my thoughts.
And this ABSD is just one component, right? The other things which is happening for quite some time is the interest rate. So interest rate, I can imagine that, let's say interest rate drop a lot, and then you can feel the hot money coming in. You need to have this kind of measures to help cooling the market. But right now, I think interest rate is still quite high, and you kind of slap this ABSD. So I find it quite interesting that who are all these billionaires that are still keep on buying. Interest rate is not cheap, right? So I believe they are not borrowing, use the borrowed money to buy. They probably have tons of cash, don't know from where, just siphoning up into Singapore. That's why this measure is really to target against this group of people.
But I think in terms of general market property trend prices wise, are you guys expecting like for it to start toning down, or it will just stay stagnant?
I think the very minimum, the luxury, premium luxury segment, right, it should tone down a little bit. Like just as a knee-jerk reaction, because we need to see what are the proportion of foreigners, right, that are actually rich but not that rich. Like this 65% wouldn't really make much of a difference to them. To them, it's like the GST going from like 7 to 8%. It's like, whatever lah. Like, what's a few million extra? But there are those segment of people, right, that are quite rich. They are like maybe $10 million liquid asset, and then they are okay to buy like a 2-3 million property, more expensive lah. But if now you raise it up to like maybe 4 million, they're like, so they will take a pause. I think that segment will be impacted, but we just have to see, like, actually government also won't do a survey, right? Like, how rich are you? So they are just introducing this measure to see, like, is this the segment that's causing the increase? Yeah, so I don't think they actually want to stop foreigners from buying. I don't think so. I don't think that's the main goal. They still would like people to buy from I mean, if they are rich enough, I think they still want the tax dollars, but not so much until it drive up the price, because it's a cascading effect, right? From premium luxury down to like just luxury, then to like mass affluent. And so I see the topmost band will be squeezed a little bit. Not the topmost band. Topmost band is good class bungalow, right? I see the premium condo in the city area might be squeezed a bit. But the good class bungalow, I don't think they care. Okay, whatever. Few million more.
Yeah, I think two response, right? I think the first one is that for foreigners, I don't think they will just say, oh, small percentage, not a big deal, because for them their decision making is not like, okay, let's say they migrate from other countries into Singapore. I don't think Singapore, it may be the one of the best place that they want to come, but it is not the only place that they can go. So when you slap this with a 30% increase in the ABSD, they could consider their second best choice, right? The second best could become better now because of this kind of like penalty, right? So I think this is something that it is in their consideration. Second thing I want to mention is that I think it also encourage people to, like stay here not as a foreigner, like just apply the PR, because imagine that you are foreigners, you could just wait a couple more years, get your PR, and then you are paying what I think PR will be, first residential property is still like 5%, right? So it's a lot lower compared to the 60% or 65%. So I think it makes sense to make people to treat Singapore as a home, and not just like a place to buy properties and what with properties. Yeah.
I think that's probably one of the underlying reason of the government wanting people to kind of apply for PR and kind of contribute to the entire economy rather than being an investor, or some might call it speculator on the sidelines. But yeah, I think in general, this probably wouldn't really affect for locals, because unless you're buying multiple properties, if not, you are probably kind of ring-fenced from this whole increase. But generally, it just does seem like the government is just trying to introduce tranches of measures to try to tinker and play around with demand and supply. So yeah, I think before we end off the discussion, Eric or Bunty, you want to have any final thoughts on?
One last question. Do you guys think that this restriction, right, that they just slapped on, will it actually push rental upwards for the short term? Because even if you all say that the government wants foreigners to turn to PRs, right? It is a process. It does take like maybe 1 to 2 years time. It won't be like, wow, today I want to become PR, today I can become PR. So it does take a while. So in the short term wise, maybe 1 to 2 years time, do you all see that the rental will be further pushed up? Because the foreigners, they have no choice, ma. I mean, like if they are here for work as expat, I mean, they do earn quite a bit, but the rents are going up like crazy. I see that in the last 1 year, it went up 50 to 100% even. Some 100 over lah, but those are outliers. But the main bulk is about 50 to 80 to 100, somewhat around there. So I don't know. Do you guys see the rental being pushed up? Because if rental push up, right, then is again a cascading effect, right? Because when rental goes up, then the people are like, those PR that are sitting on the fence, they're like, bite the bullet and just buy a smaller apartment or something like that. Like, Bunty, do you have any
I don't think it will be significant impact. The reason is because I think the ownership market and the rental market, they are somewhat linked, but I don't think it's like an immediate impact. So, and I think for rental, it's still it's a function of how many people still working here, continue to work here, or would they be anyone that because of the high rental, they feel that they want to leave Singapore. I actually have friend that decided to leave Singapore because rental is just getting too high, and you take a big hit into your saving. No point to stay here, right? So there are people that really are leaving because of the recent increase in the rental. So I think slightly different market, but I don't expect huge impact just because of ABSD. Yeah.
Personally, I don't know, because I don't have a lot of expertise in this space. But I think generally, like, because you shared, right, the whole landscape now is they're trying to see the affluent, because the crazy rich Asians, we don't need to talk about them. They're not affected by the 60%. But I think in this middle ground, right, your expats are probably part of them, because yes, they are high salary workers. They can be earning 20, 30, 40K a month. But those are precisely the ones that are going to be hit by this 30, 60% if they intend to transit over to ownership. So I think for rental wise, if let's say they're really, I don't know, a regional director or whatever, the company probably provides them with housing or lodging. I'm not too sure, I'm just speculating. But in terms of ownership wise, I don't really see a catalyst for them to say that. Maybe previously they wanted to own, then now they see this new introduction, they don't want to own anymore. But from renting perspective, I don't see why suddenly they want to transit over to buying. So I don't have a general takeaway, but this is just my few data points that I collected. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the discussion. For locals, let's hope in property continue to go hard, but we will keep our eyes peeled in the entire space itself. We'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.